Be ready on the count of 3, 2, 1, start. Sir, I would like to say a few words about the changes made by the Joint Select Committee in the bill as originally introduced. These changes related mainly to the development and regulation of interstate transport, period of validity of permits for operation of transport vehicles, payment of compensation to operators in case of nationalization, and some other matters. I am glad to say that the committee, realizing the need for developing and expanding transport facilities in the country, proceeded to make changes so as to produce the desired result. The committee felt that the development of interstate transport is not such as can be taken care of solely by the state governments as was the case hitherto, and the time has come for the central government to step in and take powers to develop, coordinate and regulate the operation of transport vehicles in respect of areas or routes common to two or more states. They accordingly endorsed the principle contained in Clause 57 for setting up a central authority for this purpose, but considered that instead of two separate authorities as proposed in the original bill, there need be only one, namely the Interstate Transport Commission, which should have powers to associate with itself representatives of the concerned state governments as and when considered necessary. This is a distinct improvement over the previous arrangement envisaged in the bill. The committee also amended Clause 52 and decided to remove the mileage restrictions for grant of public carriers permits between places connected by railways. This will give greater freedom of movement of vehicles for interstate operation. As regards the period of validity of a permit, the committee was generally of the opinion that as the prices of vehicles had gone up, the operators needed security of business if they were to invest large amounts of money for providing transport facilities to the general public. One method of ensuring this, it was thought, would be by increasing the period of validity of permits, and another by training the present provision of giving preference to applications for renewal of permits over new applications. Clause 50 of the bill was accordingly amended so that a permit for a state carriage shall be effective without renewal for a period of 3 to 5 years, and a public or private carrier's permit will be effective for a period of 5 years. It was also decided to retain the original provision in Section 58 of the Motor Vehicles Act that, other conditions being equal, an application for renewal shall be given preference over new applications for permits. In this connection, I may mention that the committee also made a provision in the bill that, other things being equal, the cooperative societies running transport services should be given preference over new operators. This preference for cooperative societies will, to some extent, help the policy of government to encourage the formation of viable units which, it is considered, can promote operational efficiency and better utilization of vehicles leading to general economy. The question of payment of compensation to operators displaced as a result of introduction or expansion of nationalization of road transport services was discussed by the committee at great length. It was generally felt that the amount of compensation provided in the original bill was far from adequate. It was also urged that every time the compensation should be paid for non-renewal of permits and that the amount payable for the cancellation of a permit or the modification of the terms thereof should be fixed with reference to the earnings of the individual operator concerned. A view was also expressed that it should be obligatory on a state transport undertaking to acquire all the assets of a private operator in whose case permits were cancelled or the terms thereof were modified in implementation of an approved scheme for introduction or expansion of nationalized road transport services. After careful consideration of all these points, the committee decided that the amount of compensation originally proposed should be doubled. The committee thought that there was no question of compensation so far as non-renewal of a permit was concerned, as it did not involve any loss of business. Compulsory acquisition of assets were also not favored, as it was feared that a good deal of unserviceable vehicles would be passed on to nationalized transport undertakings, and that would involve loss to the taxpayer. The question can very well be left to state governments who would be willing to take over serviceable vehicles and other useful equipment from private operators by negotiation. The committee also amended Clause 37 to provide for directions being issued by state governments to the state transport authorities to grant permits for alternative routes or areas to operators displaced as a result of nationalization. This will help in rehabilitation of displaced operators and also lead to opening of more routes. Provision has also been made that the private operators should form unions and ply their vehicles more efficiently.